everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Chelsea, and I'm here with my first SPFBO video. SPFBO is back. SPFBO's been back for a while, and this year it's been done a little bit differently. So SPFBO this year was open, the submissions were open for 24 hours. So more than 300 people applied, and then 300 books were randomly selected out of all that applied to have their book read this year, which is the 10th year of SPFBO, which is absolutely insane. And it is my second year of being part of SPFBO, which is really fun. I'm back on the fantasy book critic team, which I am so grateful that they still want me. And I'm here to talk to you about the books that were in my batch. So I was given 6 books to read, try, test out, and see which one I wanted to become my semi-finalist. So I'm gonna give you a brief outline on all 5 books that I have not chosen, and then the 6th book we will go into in a little bit more detail, my thoughts and feelings, that sort of thing, because otherwise this video will go on forever. And I don't want that to be the case. Now, there are a couple of things that I both love and hate about SPFBO. One of the biggest things that grinds my gears is purely the fact that SPFBO does not care about your mood. If you are a mood reader like I can be now, which I am trying to kind of acknowledge more, do less structured TBRs because they seem to be hindering me rather than helping me. If you are also like me and a mood reader, then you may actually also struggle with picking up certain books within a set time frame. Now, the other thing about SPFBO is that I have been given my books completely at random, and that means that if there are certain subgenres or something that you don't particularly gel with, you're probably not going to enjoy the books that you've been given if they fall into that pattern. However, I do love SPFBO because I find some fantastic books and I find some new favourites, ones that I probably wouldn't have tried to read myself. So let's get straight on into the 5 books that I have read, give you a brief outline, and then we'll go on to my semi-finalist. So the first book from my batch that we are going to be talking about is Metamancer by William I. Zard. This book is following our main character Johnny, who is being raised by a knight and his wife and is completely unaware of his heritage, as he was abandoned as a baby on the outskirts of a kingdom that is constantly at war with elves. Although all Johnny wants to do when he grows up is to become a knight, unfortunately death and intrigue of course take place and interfere with his life. And pretty soon he finds himself on a path that he did not think he would ever travel down as an apprentice to a wizard and friends with an elf. Now, all Johnny craves is stability. However, due to discovering his talent, the fact that his magic can alter other magics, he realises that he actually has one of the most feared talents. And as we continue to follow Johnny on his journey, we realise that everything might not necessarily be as it seems. This book then goes on to suggest that this is a brand new world and it's filled with different magics. If you are interested in, obviously, wizard apprentices, magic, fantasy, then maybe this is the indie book for you. Unfortunately, it just didn't gel for me, and that's fine. That's the whole point of this competition. From there, I went on to read The Tomb of Heart and Shadow by Cara N. Delaney. And now this one is definitely more of a romancy kind of book from the vibes that I got. So this book is a LGBT romance, so if that's already ringing great bells for you, then definitely check this one out. So our main character in this is called Saria, I really hope I'm saying that right, and she is given an ultimatum at the start of the book. Either she gets married or she will be disinherited, and with this in mind, Saria makes a deal with a complete stranger that she will marry them and have a child in exchange for freedom and security. The fact that Saria makes this proposition to a sorcerer from a mysterious city doesn't even bother her in the slightest. When a mysterious assailant begins to hunt down sorcerers, Saria and her new wife, Taliesin, must find a way to work through their relationship that was meant to be nothing more than a means to an end in order to save not only their marriage, but also the city. So unfortunately, this one didn't work for me for the romance element. There were a few other things as well. I didn't necessarily gel with the writing style in this book either. But again, if you like the idea of fantasy, LGBT, romance, this book might actually be for you. The next one that unfortunately is not my semi-finalist is Black and Deep Desires by Claire Trella Hill. Now this is also a romance fantasy book, and there is a vampire in our main character's cellar. And of course, Ophelia, who is our main character, must decide whether she can save him or if he is just a monster. Now this book is actually set in Yorkshire, so I also am English and I have been to Yorkshire many a time, so the idea of this being set somewhere that I know is both a good thing and a bad thing. I'm not really a big reader who enjoys reading about places I actually know in real life. It's very rare that I enjoy books set in the UK. I don't know what it is, but it's something, probably the fantasy person in me that just wants to escape all of the actual real life elements. And our main character in this book, her father is a very weird scientist, and she has learned from a very young age to keep her pets away from him because he has a habit of making them disappear, which if that doesn't already ring alarm bells to you, I don't know what else you need. And then our male protagonist is called Salem, and unfortunately someone has betrayed to the humans that vampires exist, and he is now caged and being experimented on for the cure for immortality. And obviously our main character Ophelia is drawn to Salem. Not only is that a common thing within vampires anyways, but that's a big point in this book, and although Salem claims that he's got no soul, Ophelia is determined to save this man, vampire, from being tortured because she doesn't think it's fair, which is quite nice. But in order to help him escape, Ophelia must face the wrath of her family, which may or may not be a bigger threat in her life than the monster in the cellar. This is also marketed as a YA gothic paranormal romance novel, so if any of those buzzwords tickle your fancy, this may be for you. I highly recommend checking it out if any of those words or my description bring you joy and intrigue. Then the fourth book that unfortunately I am not picking as my semi-finalist is To Dance with Dragons by Jack D. Hawkins. Now this one also follows a young girl called Namia, I really hope I'm saying that right, who is fleeing home from an unwanted marriage. There seems to be a theme to the books that I was randomly assigned this year. And as she's fleeing, desperation takes her to the side of a river where when she was a toddler she was actually patted on the head by a goblin. But that's not the only memory that she remembers from that day. There's actually another memory that bubbles to the surface, one that is also coated in blood. Driven by a premonition that she actually belongs to the people across the river, our main character crosses over and meets the children of the magicians, otherwise known as the goblins. But obviously that is not where our story stops. In fact, it is where our story starts. Yet despite the challenges that are happening within the different generations and species of goblins, there is a foreign enemy coming from the sea. And those are foreign humans who have pillaged the rich lands that our main character has grown up in all these years. Now obviously the goblins see this as a danger and are unsure whether they want to broker peace with the local humans or not, and within themselves they obviously fight about whether they should come up with peace and help the local humans fight off these invaders, or if they should just leave the humans to kill each other, which could be a bonus. And that is pretty much where the description ends for this book, but you'll have to give this book a try to see if it is something that you will enjoy, and if any of those words, or if you have not read a book about goblins in a while, this might be the book for you. And then the final book in my batch that will not be making it to be my semi-final unfortunately is called Seite, and the author is R.R. Echevarria. I really hope I'm saying that right. This is book 1 in the Primal Prism series. So we start this book with our main character, Crown Princess Sunsea, escaping the castle that she has always called home. And she comes from a world that slumbers in eternal night, with the immortal king of the Prism Lands actually slowly dying, and this is her father. So as she's escaping, she's hoping to escape before the whole empire figures out what is wrong with him. And as she escapes, she is being chased by her sworn knight, otherwise known as Volk Hawkborn. And Volk is also known as a Prism Knight, and he has a crystal arm which actually stores powers that he can manipulate from the overlight in this world. With the world falling apart, there has come necromancers and other vile things that have a habit of making puppets out of deceased bodies, and all of these evil creatures have set their eyes on one goal, and that is the body of the deceased king, which is why the princess is fleeing to try and find a cure for her father before he dies, with her betrayed knight chasing after her, and the necromancers building their forces to take over the kingdom. So again, this is another fantasy book, because all the SPFBO books are fantasy books. I struggled with this pacing wise personally, but if you are someone who enjoys the idea of a quest, finding a cure, being chased by, you know, a handsome knight across the plains, then maybe this is one for you too. I don't know. Hopefully all of those descriptions of those 5 books actually have done something to tell you about these books, and maybe given you something to check out if you are planning to read any SPFBO 10 books. Now on to my actual semi-finalist. So the book that I have chosen from my batch to be my semi-finalist is none other than Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson. This is a very different book that I originally did not see myself massively enjoying. I think the writing of this book is really well done, the pacing is really well done. It's set across 2 days, which for the length of this book, sometimes I forgot that it was taking place over 2 days. I did find the idea that some of these events taking place over 2 days was kind of impossible. However, I did enjoy this book. There is a strong sense of colonizers and natives within this story. There is a lot of racism, but not racism as we know it, because it is in a fictional world. Our main character, Henrietta Hoffman, is a detective, and she has been exiled to this place, which is basically a city of mushroom people, which is a very cool concept if you ask me. I will say that's very original. So there is a big case around missing and dead children who are either half-breed or full-breed mushroom hoppanese, they are called, within this world. And Hoffman is put on the case to discover what is happening, and she's given 2 days. She's also partnered up with the only hoppanese officer in the police department, which earns her a few unpleasant nicknames, and this man does not get a break, I will say. He seems really nice, so it did really annoy me throughout a lot of the book that she was so mean to him, and he was called Namiko. I really liked the world in this book. It's very original. I will say, apart from the world being half human, half hoppanese, there is not a lot of fantasy elements in it, which I thought there kind of would be. This is a mystery book. We are looking for what is happening to these missing children, these dead children. There are some very strong themes within this book, so if you choose to read my semi-finalist, please bear that in mind. Alcoholism, death of a child, divorce, abuse. There's a lot of triggers within this book, so just go careful if this is something that you want to check out. I did really enjoy the second half of this book, so if I'm being completely honest, the first 50% of this book I was not a fan of. I felt like I was dragging my feet. I didn't really know what was happening or why it was taking so long, and then we got to the 50% mark and I flew through the final part of this book. Absolutely flew through, and I think that is because there was a lot more action, a lot more going on. We're finally putting pieces together. Now I know that is the main thing in a mystery book. We have to obviously get all the pieces and then we start to see them come together. But that was my favourite part of this book. I will say I have spoken to other people and they've got different views. They preferred the first half to the second half, which I think is one of the best things about reading. because reading is subjective. We all enjoy different things, and I thought it was really interesting to hear that perspective from someone else. But I am really excited to put this forward to the rest of my team and see what they think. I know a couple of them have already read this before the competition even started because it had a very big launch. Adrian did a heck of a job on marketing. So if you know of this book or you want to check it out, I would highly recommend it. It is an enjoyable read. Again, I will say, don't go into this expecting overly fantastical elements, because the fantasy element of this is the world and the fact that the natives are half mushroom. I did like the descriptions of those though. I thought they were very cool and very clever. It is, like I said, a unique original world that I have never experienced before. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So obviously I've just given you a load more thoughts on my semi-finalist compared to the other 5 books. The other 5 books are more of a description of the book. I hope that works for you anyways. If any of these books sound like something you want to check out, definitely do. I know that my teammates, there is one left to post after me, but everyone else has already posted their thoughts and feelings and semi-finalist picks and all that fun stuff. So make sure you go and check that out. Keep an eye on the SPFBO 10 hashtag that will be floating around. It will be becoming more active probably as we go through to picking our finalists to put through to the rest of the teams, which I'm very excited for. Secretly hoping it's my pick, because we always vouch for our own picks 100%. But there are my thoughts and feelings on my books, and I hope you will enjoy them, and I hope you will check them out and support all of the other authors that are taking part in SPFBO, whether they are in the competition, applied for the competition and didn't make it this year, or if they have unfortunately not made it to the semi-finalist rounds. But otherwise, that is everything for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like, really supports me and my channel. Leave me a comment down below whether you've read any of the books that I have mentioned today, and if you want to leave me any emojis, just leave me a little mushroom for mushroom blues. If you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing down below and ring that notification bell to get notified every single time I upload new content. There will be more SPFBO content coming. I will be doing reviews on all of my finalists as I read them, and I'm hoping to do a video as well just explaining the different semi-finalists and which one we put forward to be a finalist too. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for all that content. Otherwise, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye!